All right, guys. So we have to talk about how the media, 100% without a doubt, betrayed you. What's supposed to be liberal media lied to you and covered for Trump. That's exactly what happened. Let me start with this right here. New plans for secret U.S. raid to capture Maduro leaked to the Washington Post and the New York Times before it happened. But both decided not to publish to protect U.S. troops. I literally cannot put into words how big of a betrayal this is. This is journalistic malpractice. This is negligence. This is an abdication of your responsibility as a journalist. Hey, idiots, why do you think it was leaked to you? That's people inside the government watching this insane plan get hatched, and they're going, holy shit, this is insanely illegal. I got to do something to stop this. Let me tell the media, then the media will run with this story, and then it'll kill the whole mission. Because then you'll have, the security on the ground in Venezuela. They'll beef that up. They'll be expecting it. They'll be waiting for it. It would scare the people in the regime from going, well, now we can't do it, right? So if you just did your job, which is the thing that the leakers wanted you to do, you literally could have prevented another illegal and offensive regime change war against a country that didn't attack us, where now an independent sovereign country is going to be looted for their fucking oil wealth and their mineral wealth and their precious metals. This is so shameful. Like, they should just pack it up. They should just pack it up. The New York Times, paper of record, my ass cheeks. How about paper of toilet paper? How about that? Toilet paper of record. How about that? Washington Post, same fucking thing. And by the way, don't even get me started on their the titles and the terminology that they use to soften what the Trump regime is doing here. Like, they keep saying Maduro was captured by the U.S. That's not captured. It's fucking kidnapped. It's fucking abducted. That's what it is. Like, people don't understand just how much language shapes their perception of events. And they always, whenever the language is what we're doing, they always soften the shit out of it and take the rough edges off of it and give some fake air of legitimacy to the actions of this criminal, rogue, fascist regime, this terrorist death cult that's running this country. So they haven't learned anything from the Iraq War days where they had fucking Judith Miller being a stenographer for Dick Cheney, writing bullshit about how Saddam's got weapons of mass destruction and he's going to attack us. They've learned nothing. They've learned nothing. So, by the way, before I even continue, let me just say, for the love of God, go support Dropsite News. They do real fucking news. By the way, they're the ones who've been saying, hey, if you actually look at the evidence, it's clear that Jeffrey Epstein was Mossad, and Jeffrey Epstein has connections not just to Mossad, but to a whole bunch of intelligence agencies across the world. They've been doing real reporting. They've been doing real reporting on Gaza, right? What mainstream media will not fucking touch in any serious way. Go support Dropsite. Go support Status Coup. There's a whole bunch of news outlets that do real news. And The Lever, this right here is like fucking, it's beyond embarrassing. They're actually betraying the country. They should resign in shame. It is disgraceful that they did this. All they had to do was their fucking job. All they had to do, and don't even give me, oh, it would have been illegal. No, the people that took the risk, by the way, were the brave people in the government who wanted to stop this, and they leaked it to the New York Times and the Washington Post. They're the ones who potentially committed crimes, even though they're doing the right thing by releasing this information, because this whole plot was wildly illegal. They did the right thing, but they're the ones who maybe could have had some lawsuits against them and could have been locked up over it. The media, we know we have a free press in this country. That we know we've already had stuff like this adjudicated. You are allowed to write the stuff. And so the fact that they did, it's like, why even have the First Amendment? Why even have a free press if you're going to cuck yourself to the Emperor, Overlord, God, King anyway? These people should genuinely and sincerely be fucking ashamed of themselves. Now, by the way, I'm not done. These are supposed to be the liberal media outlets that just fucking betrayed you on this and gave us a new war, okay? But you ready for this? CBS News. CBS News is hell on earth, as you all know. It was bought by ultra-Zionist right-wing billionaires, the Ellisons. They brought in Barry Weiss, the hack who runs the free press. They brought in Barry Weiss so that CBS would be massively pro-Zionist and CBS would go softer on MAGA. Well, guess what? mission accomplished. So they hire this asshole who you're about to see. It's the journalist who asked the question here. The reason they hired this guy is because this guy castigated Ta-Nehisi Coates on air and basically accused him of being an anti-Semite. That's why Barry Weiss hired this guy. Oh, look, a hack Zionist who will fucking smear anybody who's not a Zionist. So they bring him on. Look at the softball ass shit. The questions he asked of Pete Kegsbreath, the Secretary of War Crimes. Or should I say, not Pete Kegsbreath, Pete Hegseth, because he belongs in the fucking Hague. Listen to this.
Well, Mr. Secretary, I'd love to talk about the mission now because there are questions about what happens next in Venezuela. The president said today that the U.S. is going to be running the country. What does that look like? Does that mean we're going to see Americans on the corners of Venezuela, in the government of Venezuela? Are you prepared to have troops on the ground in Venezuela?
Well, it means we set the terms. President Trump sets the terms, and ultimately he'll decide what the iterations are of that. But it means the drugs stop flowing. It means the oil that was taken from us is returned ultimately, and that criminals are not sent to the United States. It means that foreign countries don't have a lodgment inside our hemisphere. So ultimately, we're going to control what happens next because of this brave decision. President Trump has shown American leadership, and he'll be able to dictate where we go next.
The oil that was taken from us was returned, he said. That's not our oil. That's their oil. It's nothing. Here's a softball down the center of the plate for you, and you can fucking do your little fucking virtue signaling routine about how we're the good guys and they're the bad guys and we're doing good things and they're doing bad things. Fuck you. Fuck you. But it gets worse. So now we go to Face the Nation, and man, you know, Adam Johnson was saying this on Twitter. He was like, I didn't know it was possible for people to try to outflank Trump on his right after he does an illegal and offensive war against a country that didn't attack us. There's no threat. Everybody knows there's no threat. You carpet bomb Caracas and kill 80 people, including a fucking 80-year-old grandma. You kidnap and abduct the president of a sovereign country and drag him here to bring him up on mucked up, fake-ass bullshit charges, right? All of that, war crime on top of war crime on top of war crime, destroying international law, you know, making a joke of the system of governance that we have, making a mockery of Congress because it's their job to declare war or not, right? And listen to the way Margaret Brennan on Face the Nation decides to be adversarial to Marco Rubio. Now you hear, oh wait, she's adversarial to Marco Rubio. That's good, Kyle, right? Wait for it. Here we go.
I'm curious because you just described the regime as still in place, essentially. I mean, I'm curious why the Trump administration decided to leave it intact and only arrest Nicolas Maduro and his wife, the person who controls the police, the chief thug, Diaz-Cabello. He's the interior minister. He's been indicted by the United States. He was in that indictment the administration released. He's a narco-terrorist. There's a $25 million price on his head. He's still in place. The defense minister, who has deep ties to Russia, $15 million price on his head. He is still in place. I'm confused. Are they still wanted by the United States? Why didn't you arrest them if you are taking out the narco-terrorist regime?
Marco, why didn't you regime change harder? I know you did a regime change. You should have done a bigger regime change and a better regime change and a more aggressive regime change and arrested more people and bombed more. What's your problem? I don't understand. Shouldn't you obviously have also arrested the defense minister and this person and that person and that person? These people learn nothing from Iraq. They learn nothing from the war on terror. Oh my God. She should be fired. She should be fired for being objectively horrible at her job. Now, Marco Rubio, you can see he's shocked. His face is shocked. Now he gets to play the moderate. He gets to say, what are you talking about? We had this detailed mission and we did as much as we could and that was as far as we can go and we're already getting shit for this. To go further would be crazier. Now you somehow outflanked him to make him sound like the one who's less pro-war. God, I hate the fucking media so much. Oh my God.
I don't know why that's confusing to you.
They're still in power.
It's very simple. You're not going to go in and wrap up. But you can't go, you're going to go in and suck up 5 people. They're already complaining about this one operation. Imagine the howls we would have from everybody else if we actually had to go and stay there 4 days to capture 4 other people. We got the top priority. The number one person on the list was the guy who claimed to be the president of the country that he was not, and he was arrested along with his wife, who was also indicted. And that was a pretty sophisticated and frankly complicated operation.
It was.
It is not easy to land helicopters in the middle of the largest military base in the country. The guy lived on a military base. Land within 3 minutes, kick down his door, grab him, put him in handcuffs, read him his rights, put him in a helicopter, and leave the country without losing any American or any American assets. That's not an easy mission. And you're asking me why didn't we do that in 5 other places at the same time? I mean, that's absurd.
I mean, how insane is this? 80 people died, including a grandma. We don't know yet how many of those 80 people are civilians, but my guess is it's a pretty hefty chunks. They were carpet bombing Caracas, right? Margaret Brennan is going, why only 80 people killed? Why only one grandma? You could have killed like 600 and killed like 40 grandmas and also gotten the defense guy and also gotten the VP and also got like, I can't. I mean, is it a requirement that you have to have a brain made of figgy pudding in order to be on mainstream media in America? I don't know. It's a serious question.
I do think this is one of the most, daring, complicated, sophisticated missions this country has carried out in a very long time. Tremendous credit to the U.S. military personnel who did it. It was unbelievable.
The thing that will always drive me crazy is this very basic point. Nobody in the U.S. ever has a conversation about rights when it comes to stuff like this. Nobody ever says, hey, wait a second, why do we assert the right to do what we just did? If Iran or Russia or China decided, we're going to do a raid and arrest the prime minister of the UK and drag them to our country and muck them up with some fake charges, what would our reaction be? What would our reaction be if China kidnapped and abducted Donald Trump and human trafficked him to their country? And like, what would Congress say? What would the media say? What would Republicans say? What would VP Vance say? They'd have their finger right on that motherfucking red button and go, we will press this bitch if you don't release him immediately. Nobody says, hey, wait a second, why do we have the right to do that? We don't actually have the right to do this, actually. Under international law, we're supposed to be a nation among nations, not a nation above nations. The whole point of international law and the Geneva Convention and the Nuremberg tribunals, the whole point was, hey, we've seen what happens when we do law of the jungle and might makes right. That's what leads to World War I. That's what leads to World War II. That's what leads to sociopathic freaks who want total control and power, and they maraud and they crusade and they savagely, steal more territory and oppress more people. Like, we've seen what this leads to. That's why we need international law. That's why we need order. That's why we need justice. That's why we need equality. That's why we need human rights. But instead of asking what right do we have to do this to another country, she goes right to, you should have done more. You should have done more bombing and more arrests and more illegal regime changing is what you should have done. I just can't. Again, she should be fired. She should be fired. She should be fired. How can I trust any fucking thing she says when this was her fucking thought process? This was her thought process as Trump brazenly violates the U.S. Constitution, flouts Congress, does an illegal and offensive regime change against a country that didn't attack us. Everybody knows they weren't going to attack us. That's the other thing. Nobody's even saying that. Nobody's even saying, hold on now. Was Maduro about to attack the United States of America? Did he have like his crosshairs on a fucking major city in this country? Like, oh, wait, he didn't? Then what are we even talking about? What are we even talking about here? Nobody's even asking these basic questions. It's dumb bullshit like this. Like, you should be a bigger warmonger. You're not a warmonger enough.
And tremendous success. And today, an indicted drug trafficker who was not the legitimate president of Venezuela, who we don't recognize, the Biden administration didn't recognize, 60-something countries.
You hear her in the background going, right.
Don't recognize, the European Union doesn't recognize, and many countries in Latin America don't recognize. He was a indicted drug trafficker. He was arrested. His wife was arrested.
Right,
also
but the
indicted,
others who are also indicted are still
system of courts.
The others who are also indicted are still in place. So that's the point of my questioning there. But you talked about not being the legitimate
So you wanted
president.
us to land in 5 other military bases?
No, I'm asking why you chose that this was the limit of the military operation. But to your point that you just made, that Maduro was not the legitimate president.
He was the guy who was claiming to be the president.
Right. Well, the opposition.
He was the top target.
Okay.
I mean, I'm at a loss for words with how bad. This is supposed to be your liberal media. New York Times and Washington Post lying by omission to help Trump, allowing him to do this illegal new war and regime change, right? CBS being fucking comically stupid with the guy throwing softballs down the center of the plate. Margaret Brennan go, why don't you be more pro-war? It's no wonder. It's no wonder, by the way, that my show's blowing up. It's no wonder Breaking Points is doing great. It's no wonder fucking Midas Touch is doing great. It's no wonder so many liberal and left-wing outlets are exploding in popularity. It's no fucking wonder. Because we're the most basic shit that they overlook, that they won't say, we say. And that somehow makes us stand out. It's just, I mean, it is just, I'm disgusted. I'm fucking disgusted at all of this shit. You know, we really thought during the war on terror, like, oh, it literally actually can't get any worse than this. But here we are. Here we are. It absolutely positively is worse than it was during the height of the war on terror. And now Trump is openly threatening Cuba. He's openly threatening Colombia. He's openly threatening Greenland. He's got a whole Mexico. He's got a whole list of countries that now he feels emboldened. Now he feels emboldened. Now he's like, okay, well, Democrats aren't putting up a wall of resistance. I'm not being impeached. Nobody's using the 25th Amendment on me. Nobody's coming after me that aggressively. So now I distract everybody from the Epstein files. It succeeded in my mind. So why would I'm not going to stop. I'm going to keep going. We rolled the clock back. This is what people don't get. We rolled the clock back to like the fucking 1700s. Except the difference is we're just as immoral and stupid as back then, but now we have nuclear weapons. Now we have nukes. Isn't that great? So, shame on the entire fucking media system. Jesus Christ. Support all the media outlets that do real work. And however few of them there are. Because this is, it's like a nightmare. It's like a nightmare. I remember how horrible the media was during the Iraq war days and stuff. And, you know, you'd like to think, everybody learned the lesson because now everybody realizes that the Iraq war was bullshit, right? No. It's so funny. In the moment, every conservative, every Republican, and the virtually like 80 to 90% of the media, they all support the war. Always. And then it's always the case, everybody gets, the last war was stupid, but I support this one, right? And then another 10 or 20 years from now, they'll go, oh yeah, that last war of Venezuela, that was stupid, but now I support this new one with Iran or whoever it is at the time, right? And meanwhile, what does it mean to be a leftist? What does it mean to be non-interventionist? We're always correct too early, and that makes people hate us, right? We're right too early, and that makes people hate us. Well, guess what? I no longer give a shit if people don't like the message. Truth is always a fucking defense. And so we're going to stand on business and tell the truth no matter what, and eventually these fucking idiots will catch up.
Hey y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop, and watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.